Freda Knows His Gun called a friend on October 18th, 2016. She was at a Wal-Mart in Kennewick, Washington, and asked her friend to wire her some money so she could get home back to Montana. Freda wanted to be home in time for Halloween so she could take her 3 children trick-or-treating. Freda said she would be waiting at the Wal-Mart customer service desk. Her friend agreed to send her the money, and 15 minutes after she wired it, she called to see if Freda picked it up. She had not. The friend was unable to reach Freda, and the money ultimately never was accepted. What happened to this 34-year-old mother in just a few minutes' time that kept her from picking up the money? Where is Freda Knows His Gun? Hello, and welcome back to the Where Are They podcast bonus episode. This episode features another missing Indigenous woman from Crow Agency in Montana. So let's jump into this week's story. Freda Knows His Gun hasn't been seen or heard from in 5 years. Her children are growing up without her. The case is also frustrating because of the translations. For example, some agencies have her missing persons report listed as Freda Knows Gun, with her last name being one word. Some have it as Freda Knows His Gun, also with her last name being one word. While yet some have it listed as separate words, Freda Knows His Gun or Freda Knows Gun. This is apparently because of the difficulty sometimes in translating Indigenous names. And this only further complicates the cases of missing Indigenous women. So, who was Freda Knows His Gun? She was a daughter, a sister, an aunt, and most importantly, a mother of 3 children who were her world. Freda was born on March 14th, 1982. She was one of 16 children in her family and was very well liked both in school and out. In fact, everyone who remembers Freda in school says she was very smart, very intelligent. And this is a sentiment that is echoed by everyone who knew her, including former teachers. Freda would also go on to attend Little Bighorn College for some time also. Freda had 3 children, Lyrical, Mason, and Trinity. For some reason, shortly before her disappearance, Freda began hanging out with a new crowd. Also, for unknown reasons, Freda would leave the Crow Agency area and Montana in general and head over to the state of Washington. She would end up in Kennewick, Washington, which is over 740 miles from Crow Agency. Some have said she left the area with a black male that was identified only as Mike, but it wasn't mentioned if there were others with them as well. And I do wonder that because the family had repeatedly mentioned that Freda was hanging out with a new group of friends in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. But for some reason, whatever that may be, Freda does leave the area. The only facts of the timeline reported is that on October 18th, 2016, Freda called a friend in Billings, Montana, and told them that she was in Kennewick, Washington, but wanted to come back to Montana. She asked this friend if she could wire her some money to the Wal-Mart so she could get back to Montana in time to take her kids trick-or-treating. The friend did agree to send some money, and Freda said she would wait by the customer service desk. This friend said that she ran into some problems with sending the money as they kept misspelling Freda's name. So after a few hiccups, she called Freda back at the number she had called from to confirm that the money had come through, but Freda never answered. This friend then called the Wal-Mart customer service to make sure the money was indeed there for Freda, and it was. But they told her Freda was not there. The friend continued to try and call Freda with no luck and also continued to check with Walmart to see if the money was ever picked up. It never was. And that alone is super suspicious to me. Even if Freda was mixed up into something that she shouldn't have been, she would have picked up the money. Even if her friends were up to something that they shouldn't have been, they would have wanted Freda to get the money. So the fact that the money never got picked up is super suspicious. Freda's mother, Barbara, reported her missing on November 14th after Freda missed her aunt's funeral. The family had always been really close, and they knew something was wrong when Freda didn't show up. They just knew that Freda was in trouble somewhere. But Barbara's pleas for help really fell on deaf ears. She didn't feel that law enforcement ever took her seriously, telling Barbara she's probably just out partying. As time went on, Freda's case was listed in missing persons databases, but each time her last name was spelled differently. Barbara is now raising her grandchildren, Freda's 3 children, but believes that Freda is somewhere out there alive. Barbara has said, quote, "I would know in my womb if she was dead. I don't know if she's mad at me, but it doesn't matter. She needs to come back. Her children need her. I cannot give them what they need." End quote. Because her disappearance spans over state lines, eventually the FBI became involved, which helped Freda's case get listed in additional databases. One of the difficult things about the cases of Indigenous women is having them actually labeled as missing in these national databases. The FBI believed that she might have gotten mixed up in drugs, and there would be a possible sighting a few months after Freda disappeared in the Billings, Montana area, but that hasn't been 100% confirmed. Law enforcement now believes that she is likely deceased, but family believes she is still alive and living somewhere else right now. One interesting thing that would happen is an FBI agent called Freda's family and asked if they had heard of the drug hotspot. He said that when it's taken, it makes the person lose their memory, including forgetting who they are. The family had no knowledge of this drug, and they waited for a follow-up call from the FBI to come in regarding that question, but it never did. They never got any additional answers about why they were called and specifically asked about that drug. Freda's children are now teenagers being raised by Freda's mom, Barbara, with the help from her extended family. The problem with missing Indigenous people is so real that almost everyone on a reservation knows someone personally who has gone missing, and that's astonishing. It's been said that whenever a body is discovered on the reservation, the entire community holds their breath to find out who it is. And that's so tragically sad. Freda Knows His Gun was last known to be in Kennewick, Washington on October 18th, 2016. She's been gone now for 5 years. It's hard to imagine that she would stay away from her children willingly that long. Freda was 5'5" tall and weighed about 150 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She had brown hair, brown eyes, and her hair was also said to be waist length, but often worn in a ponytail or a bun. She was 34 years old when she disappeared and would today be 39. She has a long scar on her right elbow and several tattoos. She has the names Lyrical, Trinity, and Mason tattooed on her back between her shoulder blades, a cartoon character, Mickey Mouse, holding a basketball on her right calf, a flower and initials on her right shoulder, 2 masks, and her last name, Knows His Gun, on her upper right arm. If you have any information Regarding Freda Knows His Gun's whereabouts or anything at all about her case, please contact the Crow Agency Bureau of Indian Affairs at 406 638 2631. As always, thank you so much for listening to Freda's story. She has 3 children and a large extended family who miss her dearly. We will be back again next week with another episode of Where Are They? And until then, stay safe and hug your loved ones.